Hello out there, friends. This is Suzanne in Ohio. I'd like to share my snippet rolls with you today. I just started making them. Now I know I'm behind the trend. They've been out for quite a while, and I hear they go back all the way to Victorian times. I cannot verify that, but that's what I heard. But I just got around to making some because I wanted some for a project of my own, and I'll tell you, these things are addicting. I just love them. I love the outcome. And I think I'm going to do some more and maybe do them in a different shape. Instead of long and narrow, maybe I'll make little rectangles. I don't know. Anyways, here was the first one I worked on. Now, this was when I was still getting my feet wet. I had to work out my process. It has a piece of muslin for a foundation, and then it has just an entire covering of white lace snippets all the way down. Then on top of that, I put pieces of eyelash yarn and then tulle and netting, all different shades of blue. And then what I did was use a meandering embroidery stitch, as you can see it better here on the back. And as I meandered along, I put beads in. Now, I hear these are to be cut apart and used on projects if you want to. So what I did was I used one piece, one color, and then when I tied that off, I switched colors. So you can easily see where to cut it and everything will stay together. That meandering embroidery stitch will keep everything together. As long as you don't cut into that, you won't lose anything. But this was fun. It got my feet wet. Probably took me way longer than it should have because I was working out my process. You can see here it's every shade of blue. And the tints and tones of blue are subtle, but in real life absolutely beautiful because the tulle and the netting just gives it a wisp of color in different places. So that was number one. Then I went on to number two, and more or less the same process, only this is it all in shades of natural, cream, whatever you want to call it, ecru. Excuse me. And so what I did here was, again, a muslin foundation, then an entire foundation of a thin, like curtain lace. That's what I did to that. And then started putting on snippets of beige or natural colored lace. And then underneath all that also lays some eyelash yarn. You can see it poking out here. I love the fibers that just wisp around and give it some depth. These are very tactile. They make you want to touch them. They're so pretty. But also this one has beads and buttons. And it's just pretty much repetitious all the way down. Quite a variation of lace though. All different kinds of lace. And I just love it. That was number two. Now, after that, oh wait, I got to tell you about this one. What I decided when I was working on this was I needed to secure everything down so that it can be cut apart. So I did 3 long meandering free motion sewing machine stitches all down the whole length. And then all the beads are sewed on and tied off individually. So you could cut this anywhere you want and it will stay together. Number two. Okay, so now number three. I wanted something darker. I wanted something that looked more boho. So I ended up with this. It has a muslin foundation, and then I had some fabric from the thrift store that was just real sheer and real see-through-y. So I put that on there and then covered the whole thing with black tulle. And then layers of this curlicue embroidery. And that's commercial machine embroidery off of a curtain panel that I had. So that goes the whole length as well. And again, here's my printouts. In this one, there's vintage ladies and thought-provoking words. And then instead of just plain beads, this has opalescent sequins with a bead sewed in the middle every so often. It really picks up the light. So every so often there's just a knotted strip of gold tulle, and then I stitched that on and left the tails flying around. It gives it so much personality. The eyelash yarn poking out here and here, just beautiful. So that was number 3. Then I came up with number 4, which I thought I had my process down pretty pat by then. And so I had a foundation of muslin, but I thought, now I don't need to coat this thing entirely with lace because some of it gets hidden and it seems like a waste to me. So I used a tone-on-tone fabric like these. And you can see them. I have quite a few different ones that are just tone-on-tone. And I thought, well, if anything shows through, then that will be visible and it will look great. Well, which it did. All right, so right here on the end, you can see the tone-on-tone showing through. Now, I wonder if I can get this to focus. Let me try. Sorry. I'm still learning to use my equipment. There you have it. Just that tone-on-tone fabric, and then I start with the lace snippets. Okay? So, as we move along here, you can see this one has stitch-on printouts. These are birds, and I'll tell you in just a second how I did those and the thought-provoking words. These have beads sewn in the center of the opalescent sequins, and then an entire series. All the birds are different all the way down. And I think it makes a wonderful presentation. Now this one is sewn in such a way that you can snip it anywhere you want and it will not come apart. Just make sure you're not snipping through your words or through one of the birds. Okay, so that's my first attempt. I just loved it. Like I said, it's addicting. Let me tell you about how I get my printouts. And my girlfriend says that I need to say more about how to do things because I just assume everybody knows because I'm still learning myself. But what I do is, for instance, here's a printout of my vintage women, and I got these free printables off the internet, brought them into my program, shrunk them all down to the size I wanted, and they are printed on transfer paper. And that's what this is. Iron-on print and press transfer sheets for inkjet printers. All right, because mine's an inkjet. They do have it for laser if you have a laser printer. But what this does is it prints the image on this, and you have to make sure you get it in on the right side, not the side with the blue line. And here's how you work that. You would just snip off one of these ladies, and you would, let's say this is fabric, you would lay her down on your fabric after you snipped her off and iron it according to the directions. And according to the directions, I think you wait till it fairly is cool, and then you peel off the paper backing and you have the most wonderful image on there. Now, if you're printing an image that has writing on it, you have to be careful and do your reverse or mirror image so that once you iron it over, your writing is going the right direction instead of mirrored. All right, so there's a page of vintage women, and here's a page of birds. I just thought I'd show you those so you can see the possibilities are endless with whatever project you're working on. I'm using these on another project and on another snippet roll. And these were all copyright-free photos off of the net. I just love them. So also what I print off is I print my words off, my thought-provoking words, I call them. So I created this with the text I wanted in a program, just made a full sheet of them, and then printed it as one full document onto what is called printer paper or printer fabric, printable fabric. Printable fabric, Suzanne. Okay, and it says perfect for photo projects, and it is. And you can see their example here. They had a photo of their dog. They printed it on the printer and then ironed it on fabric, and there you have it. They made a cushion out of it, it looks like, or some kind of wall hanging. Now, there's all kind of videos online about how to make your own printable fabric, and I've done it. Did quite a bit of it, as a matter of fact. But by the time I buy the solution or even make my homemade concoction, soak the fabric, rinse it out, dry it, iron it, and make sure the grain is going straight, and then glue it or iron it onto freezer paper and trim the edges, and then worry about strings coming loose while it goes through my printer, which I had that happen one time. Thank goodness it didn't ruin my printer. But it just wasn't worth it. So now I buy. And it makes things go a lot faster, and I can count on it. Now, this is not sticky on the back. This is not an iron-on. I've often wondered if you could buy it as an iron-on. That would be interesting. But with whatever project you're working on, whether it's fabric, paper, or mixed media, you would just simply cut these out, and whatever is appropriate for your project, you would attach them or glue them on. You could use regular glue, probably tacky glue, because that's so thick it won't seep through your fabric. Or you can use fabric tack, or my favorite is Wonder Under. Now, Wonder Under is a brand name, and let me put my hand here so that camera will quit that. Wonder Under is a brand name, but everybody's got a version of Web Fuse. That's really what it's called. It's a fusible adhesive, and it looks just like a little mesh, and you can cut it apart, or I just tear it in little pieces sometimes, and you put it in between on the back and in between your word and just iron over it, and that adhesive is enough to hold anything. I just love that product. I even use it to adhere paper to paper if I've got a place where glue is not appropriate. So there's that. You can do that with your printer. Now, here's a snippet roll that is not completed. It's just in the making stages, and I wanted you to see it at this stage. And then maybe when I get it finished, I'll make a video and show you how it turns out, because I have a different idea about this one. What I did here, foundation, muslin, then a little piece of light green taffeta, which I just happen to have. And I thought, well, if anything shows through, at least it'll be green. And so I put it in there and help give it some stability. And then I just started layering snippets of lace, and there's a whole string of eyelash yarn under there as well. But then when I was done laying the lace down, I covered this entire thing with snippets of tulle and netting. And I don't know if my camera's going to show it up or not, but I go from green into purple to teal to pink or raspberry, and then back to green again, 2 shades of green, then raspberry, and then purple, and then back to green again. So my idea is to make this kind of a spring Easter theme. I'm going to print out copies of printable, vintage, very old Easter postcards. I know there's quite a few of them online. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And I'll add some thought-provoking words as well. And then that will be number 5 when I get that done. All right, I just wanted to show you my pile of snippets here. Anybody can do this because I know we all have this. Now, this is just 1/100th of what I have, but I keep this little assortment close by so that I don't have to get up and go rummaging through my clothes baskets, which are full of supplies. So there's a little selection of everything in this bin, and enough to make many, many snippet rolls or add to other projects. I do a lot of mini art quilts. So here it is, nice and handy. So that's my snippet rolls. I hope you enjoyed, and I just wanted to share and thank you for all the YouTubers who put their ideas out there on the net and helps us all to get creative and to explore what we can do and take our projects to the highest degree. All right, here's, let me show you these before I go. These will be on my next project. It's an assortment of birds, and I printed these out from website. They come from a nature book, and the nature book was put online by the Library of Congress. So these little darlings are absolutely beautiful. And I love the vintage look of them. Let me see if I can get this to focus. There we go. And I just printed them on a cotton fabric, and I stained around the edge with my distress ink because I didn't want to look brand new. So watch for that next project. And thanks a lot for listening, and come and visit me again.